Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Love and Learning here in Geneva, New York, with my beautiful co-host, Diamando Stratakos. And we are back in bed together again.
We are. Let me just snuggle up closer.
Oh, I love being able to do this in person. So, for those of you who've been hanging out with us on this journey, the last episode, we talked a little bit about where you see yourself a year from now, and taking some time to really feel into that and get into your body and do some movement oriented way of approaching that question, right? And this week we're here to talk to you about some of the things that can come up when you start to ask yourself those kinds of questions. So I'm going to turn it right over to Diamando, and I'm going to echo some of the sentiments after you share your story, but here we go.
Okay. All right, I'm going to share my story. This week I got dumped, not by my boyfriend, but by a business associate. And I'm saying the word dumped because I've gotten to a place in my life where I recognize that you need to have a little bit of humor about all of the relationships in your life, because, and we've talked about this in L&L before, friendship and relationships are like a rubber band. They expand and contract based on what you need in the moment, truly. So when I had that experience, my gut reaction was fear. There was some pain. There was a little bit of uncertainty. I didn't know where I stood or sat. And those moments have been transformative for me. So that fear lasted for about, 2 minutes. And then I recognized that, like, man, this is such an opportunity for me, because all of the things that have ever been truly important in my life have come out of moments similar to that one. So when I was thinking about last week's L&L, where we talked about where do you see yourself a year from now, that's a topic that's really important to me, because when I work with clients and with friends, I like to help people very strongly visualize where they see themselves a year from now. But then I like to leave that vision far off on a mountaintop and just focus on one step in front of you. Because the truth is that where we see ourselves a year from now is definitely not where you're going to be a year from now. No matter how much you plan it, no matter how much you think it through, no matter how much you feel it, it is not going to be where you are a year from now. And a year from now, if you were to write yourself a letter and be like, this is what my life looks like a year from now. If you read that letter a year from now, you're going to surprise yourself with not just how different it is, but how much better it is. And that has always been the case for me. So this really goes into this thing that we've been talking about with, like, feeling into things and acknowledging the moment, but also trusting that there's a bigger plan out there. And as long as we're in tune with that moment, that plan is going to reveal itself. So yeah, I got dumped, but man, I don't care, because that gives me a clean slate to create whatever it is I want to create.
Yeah.
Melissa,
I love that.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I have so many. We're going to keep it to a minimum, but I just want to say one of the things we did before we hopped on is we pulled this card, Coming Apart, from this Enchanted Map Oracle card deck, and I love it because the themes are all about exploring and adventure, and really that sort of like experiential way of living life, right? And immediately upon seeing it, like, Diamando touched into that part of her journey, but I also touched into part of mine, which is as a coach and a facilitator of a lot of different spaces, I'm hearing this type of thing happening for a lot of people right now, where there's this sort of like reckoning with where we've been for the last few years, and all of the things that we've been going through, and kind of taking that inventory and then going, like, what's here to stay and what am I ready to release? And, in the fall, I really love to do workshops and things that are themed around that idea. It's like a Rumi quote, right? It's be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop, right? And it is for that very reason that you're talking about. It's that idea of the clean slate. And I often like to think about it like pulling the thread of a tapestry, right? It's like sometimes when you pull the thread, it pulls it tighter. So it's more tight knit and closer together. And you can look at it and really just love what you have in front of you. But sometimes when you pull a thread, like the whole thing unravels and falls apart. And that's equally as beautiful, right? Because you're starting from scratch, right? You're starting from that place where there's wide open, endless opportunity for creation. And for some people that can be really scary, of course. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know, I sat down and I looked at where I want to be a year from now, and I did not think about any of this, that's okay. I guarantee there are some things simmering beneath the surface, and here's how you can find them and address them. Pull out a sheet of paper, set a timer, 5, 10, 15 minutes, however far you want to go with this, and write down all of the things that you are tolerating in your life. In fact, I did this assignment like a few years ago with a coach of mine, and we called it tolerations of bullshit, right? So what are the things in your life that are bullshit, right? Like, what are you doing that just doesn't resonate with you anymore? It's not, doesn't fit, doesn't feel right. And what are you tolerating? And it could be everything from like, you know, chipped toenail paint to the relationship that you're in, right? It could be all of those things. And that's all you're going to do. Write the list, fold it up, tuck it away somewhere. Because a year from now, I guarantee if you pull it out, you will have already gone to work on so many of those things naturally, just because you brought them to conscious recognition. And the timer is key. Don't let this go on ad infinitum, right? Like it, and you'll make yourself miserable. You will literally extract all of the things from your life and probably move to a monastery. So 5, 10, or 15 minutes, all the tolerations and bullshit in your life. And then we'll talk more about that next week.
Yeah.
All right. So
I just have one final thought for anyone who's like, but when that tapestry falls apart and I'm left with nothing, or it's from scratch, the truth is that what you're left with is a bunch of beautiful fabric and material. So it may not have the same shape that you were used to it having, but all of the foundation is still there. And that is where you can start to pick it up and turn it into whatever you want it to be.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
And as always, this episode of Love and Learning is brought to you by our beautiful community of Arbonne Independent Consultants. If you want to hang out with us and be able to engage a little bit more, join us at 8 p.m. tonight, Tuesday night. Check our stories for today's topic, but we do tea talks so that you can come on and not only do you get to hear from us, but you actually get to participate, you know, which is what I love most, because this is such a one-way street and we look forward to hearing from you. So thank you.